It's AEW Double or Nothing. I think they doubled the amount of matches that you should normally have on a pay. Good God! Hey, what's going on, Bob Squad? I'll sing the song at the end of the thing here. I just want to jump right into it. Talk about the pay-per-view. Talk about Bleacher Reports. Talk about the big championship title change. Actually, the only title change. Now that I think about it, as far as I can tell. What's going on, Bob Squad? Again, I'm doing the AEW pay-per-view. Usually we only do the Hulu edition of WWE Monday Night Raw and WWE pay-per-views because I don't get like regular TV, so I can't talk about AEW that much. But I do always follow it and look at their YouTube clips and their Instagram and whatnot and make sure I know what's going on generally. So let's just jump right into this 5 hours of wrestling. Holy mother of pearl. Sweet heavens to Murgatroyd, heavens to Betsy, every which way from Sunday. They got jokers cracking wise, Weisenheimer's on the up and up, hooligans on the straight and narrow, dames are flipping their lids. It's the bottom line. The bases loaded, 2 strikes, 2 outs, a squad shot there, and Brooklyn Dodgers win the series 23 skidoo. Let's go. Let's do this. I'm watching the pre-show, and there were Bleacher Report problems, and I thought I didn't know how to work it, whatever. Apparently it kicked on for at least myself and everybody else about 10 minutes before the pay-per-view, but the whole pre-show is on YouTube for free anyway, so okay. No one's missing anything, they just want to make sure their thing works, and this is Fight TV, I think, is everywhere outside of America, and Bleacher Report is America, so everyone who bought this thing is getting a little antsy and probably very frustrated. So be that as it may, that got taken care of. And there were 3 matches of the 13 matches that we saw, 12 on the big show, not literally on Paul White's body, 12 on the pay-per-view show and 1 in the pre-show. 13 matches, only 3 of them I had any interest in going to. And 2 of those 3 were the first 2 matches, the other match was the very last match. So there was a lot of middle for me. There were hours and hours of middle with 2 shining lights, we'll get to those. Hookhausen, Danhausen, and Hook defeat Smart Mark. God, what he should be beat. Someone should beat the shit out of him just for making that his name. Smart Mark Sterling, the lawyer manager guy, and Tony Nese. This was way more entertaining than I thought it was going to be. They didn't do too much funny haha with Danhausen himself. Danhausen was in the ring. He was in the ring. And I'm very biased. I'm very big on both Danhausen and Hook, and I was against their teaming initially. I was like, keep them away from each other. They don't need this. We're gonna split the fans too. But I think this worked out pretty well. I don't know if it really benefits Hook that much, but as long as he stays who he's supposed to be, then I'm feeling better about it. Danhausen does have a little bit of a habit. I gotta criticize my boy. He makes it a little obvious sometimes when he puts himself in position for certain moves. He did it with the one move match he had with Tony Nese. He does that shift to make sure he's in a perfect position for the running knee. And he did something else in this match that was similar to that. I forget exactly what it was. I think he got tackled, and they were going to Tony Nese. 9 times out of 10, the wrestler doing the tackling, they'll attack you with their left shoulder, and they run to the right. Once in a blue moon, they'll run straight ahead. And Danhausen did a little bit of shifting around and that kind of stuff. I don't know if that's a hard camera issue or just maybe in a tag match there's more factors. You don't want to hit a certain rope for a certain reason depending on what you're doing. I really don't remember. But in this case, little shifty shift. This was fun. Danhausen actually wrestled more of the match and he sold, but he had offense that was really more evasive offense, so it was defensive. He would move away from something with Tony Nese. Nese would miss something, and then Danhausen can get a move and then tag or whatever. So they made it make as much sense as they possibly could. And the bad guy manager, you can do whatever the hell you want to him, whatever, who cares? And they did, and they protected Nese. They beat the manager, which was the right thing to do. I thought Hook just beats the manager, but essentially he did. I think he choked him out, and he gave him the suplex, choked him out, tags Danhausen. Finish was a little odd. Danhausen just runs in, puts his foot on the bad guy manager's chest and pins him with a flex or something like that. I think he could have done something. I guess they're not going with on the Indies. The joke was he was doing CM Punk's finish, and Punk let him call it very nice, very Neville, and ha ha ha. It doesn't look like they're going to be doing that just yet, but AEW's got like no rules, so I still wouldn't be surprised if he did. Anyway, that's the pre-show. Okay, we gotta move through this shit. So there's gonna be a couple of matches I'll talk about extensively. I am not as jokey and silly and goofy, and I don't have as many routines with these AEW things because I do them once every couple of months. The Raw ones are funnier if you're new to this, and AEW is why you're listening to this. Okay, we screw around, we have a lot of fun. We have the blonde lady, we have the Irish guy, we have Hulk Hogan slamming Andre the Giant all the time. We have the big song up top. We have the long packages, the long, veiny, blue veined, thick packages. There's a limited commercial interruption. There's so much silliness with the Raw reviews. This is not going to be entertaining. I'm just going to babble at you like a cranky old man who was a failed indie wrestler a long time ago and a still failing stand-up comic to this day. Okay, there you go. Those are my credentials. If you're new, blah, 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 blah. We start the show. MJF comes out. I like this. WWE, I hate to just do a comparison thing when you're talking about AEW. It's not fair to them, but I always complain when it's like we're 12, 15 minutes in and the first bell hasn't rung yet because we had to see the same video package we just saw during the preview. It's just, and their entrances take a long time. Their entrances take forever, and their matches aren't much to write home about. In AEW, their matches are what take too goddamn long. I'm going to bitch about it. So, sorry, a sniffle in a microphone. I'm trying not to. Pardon me. MJF and Wardlow. So Wardlow does the big stupid Goldberg entrance, and I rolled my eyes at first, but then I felt better. I got over it. Because, okay, they put some twists on it. In this case, it doesn't like they're not doing it forever with him. They're just, for this instance, he's staying handcuffed, which is preposterous. And they're taking him out of, not his security room, but I guess whatever holding cell or mini prison they have in every arena, according to Tony Schiavone, to hold anyone who causes trouble. They have Wardlow in that. So, okay. And, again, because of the outcome of this match, because Wardlow wins, if you're listening to this, come on now. You've seen it. And you just can't get enough. Wardlow wins, so it's like, okay, so that's done. It should be done. There's no real reason to keep dragging him out with security, blah, 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 blah. Okay. MJF does, this is a very Jerry Lawler-ish match in a good way. MJF stalls, he gets in the ring, out of the ring, in the ring, out of the ring, takes forever. Eventually he gets some cheap shots here. Wardlow no-sells the first few. MJF gets caught. I think he tries a sunset flip from the ring apron, which is the hardest part of the ring. And then, of course, it doesn't work. And Wardlow eventually gives him a power bomb. He gives him a total of 10 power bombs, 8 of which were great. There were 2 of them that, I think the 6th and the last one, unfortunately, had some elbows in there. The 6th or 7th was like a really bad elbow one, but they can't all be perfect. MJF took them all, and they were great though. It didn't matter because it was the story that he made it an even 10, and he gave MJ and he pinned MJF. I don't remember. I think he put the foot on the chest. I don't really remember. But anyway, and then Tony Schiavone makes the announcement: "Yay, Wardlow is you have a contract. You're all elite now." Because you're no longer working for MJF, and the stipulation is if you win, you get to, now you're officially an AEW wrestler. Okie dokie, that's a fun story. I have a question, and if they've answered this on TV, then forgive me, yell at me in the comments, whatever. Wardlow has not yet spoken to Tony Khan on this broadcast. He just won the match, and he walked a few feet down the ramp, however long the ramp is, down to Tony Schiavone. So they just go, there you go. Now you're here. Now you've signed a contract. Has he? Did they have him sign some kind of conditional contract where they've already worked out? In kayfabe, have they worked out his money and this, that, and the other thing? And they just like, but it's not official unless you win this match? Was that the rule? Did they establish this on TV or no? Because if they didn't, it was really silly. I hope that they did. Because I made this comment responding to Tony Khan on Twitter like he cares. And one guy replied, and everyone liked his snarky reply, well, WWE, there's a zombie guy, and there was fires, and you just have to accept the fact, I have to accept it, pardon me, You just have to accept the fact. You got to accept that this isn't realistic. And of course, I responded, well, yeah, well, they've done a good job of reminding us it's not realistic. You know it's not realistic, jackfuck. The point is, you're not supposed to remind people it's not real all the time, and this is what this does. It wasn't the end of the world, no, but we can move on. Yeah, I don't care about the MJF weekend controversy. He left the thing. He was going to show up. He wasn't going to show up. Was it work? Was it not? I want to make point of this. Details. They put MJF on a stretcher. And almost definitely, I mean, he took 10 big bumps. And just because 2 of them were a little elbow heavy, we know he doesn't really need a stretcher. But they're 10 big bumps. You can kind of get lost in it. Especially because they were all sold for so long. So, okay, you can get lost in it. Except for 2 things. Dear God. They put him on a stretcher. And he's scooted up way too far, so his neck is dangling off the stretcher. Because that's what real paramedics would do, right? Let your neck dangle off the stretcher backwards. And they put an oxygen mask over his nose and his eyes. You heard that correctly. Not his nose and his mouth. No. Upside down over his nose and his eyes, because that is how we breathe in AEW. But it's wrestling, who cares? No, it's fucking stupid. Get it right. This is why people... See, here's what they don't get. They're so lost in pro wrestling world, they don't understand this. When Joe Dickhead is flipping channels, I know him, he's a good guy. When Joe Dickhead is flipping channels, and he's looking for something to snicker and scoff at and not watch again, that's the stuff. It's that stuff. Or if anyone else is in the room, Joe Dickhead makes everyone else feel embarrassed for watching it. And then they watch it less. Less people care, less people come to the show, buy merch, yada, yada, yada. And you're stuck with maybe a live crowd that is into everything, but it's never going to get bigger than that. If anything, it just drops. Because people die. What? So there you go. I wanted to mention that. Number 2, these will go quicker, I promise. The Young Bucks finally wrestle the Hardys. The Bucks are dressed like Elvis, and the Bucks sell really goofy early on, because so you know, to remind you it's fake, and that's how you know they're going to lose, and they did, because that's what the Bucks do. So really they can say they put over the Legends and they did business, even though they're kind of in charge of some aspects and yada yada yada. They can say they did business, but they sold in such a stupid fucking way that they didn't put anybody over. With that said, the Hardys, especially Jeff, look rough. Jeff is slower and he's stumbling, and he was out of the match for a while. I couldn't. Is he sell his boot came undone, and it was I don't know, maybe he was off camera, maybe he was trying to fix his boot or get it on right, I don't really know. Or was he just hurt? Was it his knee? Was it his back? I don't know. But he just doesn't look well. Yikes. It was rough. Oh, then there were several instances where I think Nick, the taller of the Young Bucks, is blatantly talking to Jeff. Like, there were a couple of times, and I'm yelling at the screen, dude, you have long hair. Use it. That's one of the most valuable things. That's why the male population of pro wrestlers must have the longest hair of any athlete compared to any other sport or whatever. You don't see like crazy long haired basketball players and boxers or whatever the hell ever. The long hair covers things up. You can talk to your guy. But it was a lot of instances, and the announcing is very bad. This went on through the whole night. I'll bitch about it now. Sorry, this is a very bitchy episode, but I think a lot of people really liked 15% of this pay-per-view and really hated the other 85%. And there's not a lot of middlemen in here. So, the Bucks are dressed like Elvis. I mentioned that. The announcing's really bad. That's what I wanted to mention. Excalibur cannot stop just saying Japanese words. He couldn't stop saying Onari Moonsault during the main event. Sorry, jumping ahead. So many times. No one cares. No one fucking cares. Knock it off. Let it go. Yeah, and you could tell Jim Ross's growing frustration throughout the night was one the only consistently entertaining aspect of it. And he took his shots, and he had lost it. By the time the 10-man bleed all over the arena debacle happened, Jim Ross he checked out. He checked out, and he worked hard for the main event, but I think he was a good wrestling announcer. He always is. He's the greatest, but he was done. He saw enough stupidity, and there was a match in between that. Okay. The Hardys won. Jeff at one point does a wacky senton off the top rope to the outside, and one of the Bucks is on the stairs, which are sideways, and whatever, they beat the Bucks. Anna Jay, okay, now we have, this is where it gets bad. Anna Jay and Jade Cargreen, oh my god. Yikes. Listen, Jade Cargill is too green to be on TV. I'm glad she has confidence, that's her biggest strength, she has nothing else. Two people interfered on Jade Cargill's behalf while she was already in control. Why did they do that? A crutch from one of the somebody threw a crutch in the ring. The Mark Sterling guy came back, and Anna Jay intercepted it, does some move with it to Jade Cargill, smartly, credit to Anna Jay, shoves it out of the ring so the ref can't see it, so she wasn't really going to cheat, but the heels tried to cheat, and she caught them and reversed on, so it's not as bad. 1-2 kick out. So what was the point of that? Anna Jay is not bad, but she's not good enough to do anything with Jade, and so far nobody has been. No. Then we have 2 debuts back to back. Are you ready for this? 3 people show up. 2 of them are making debuts. The guy who played Malcolm Pivens is now something Stokely Hathaway shows up. Okay. And then that's a distraction for some reason, and Jade Cargill hits, I think, Beth Phoenix's glam slam taking off the second rope, yada yada. 1, 2, 3, Jade wins, so that just pisses all over Anna Jay. Chris Statlander arrives, and the people woke up. Statlander was toe to toe. The 2 taller ladies, the muscular ones, Statlander and Jade, were face to face, and everybody was alive. And I was alive. I'm like, okay, you should have just done this match, but they didn't. Maybe they will later, but there's no point doing it later because they could have stopped it right there, cut it right there, fade to whatever the hell you do next, cut to your package for the next thing. No, because Ember Moon, who is now Athena, has to debut. So Malcolm Pivens debuts, Statlander shows up to even the odds, which is already overkill, and it's double overkill because Athena shows up, and she's got a new name and a new striper in her hair. The Legion of Gimmicks is back. That was my nickname for you newer listeners, both of you, for Shotzi Blackheart and Ember Moon. LOD 3000, the Legion of Gimmicks. They had so many gimmicks, and I'm sure Athena is going to have a million catchphrases and gimmicks and no emotion behind them. That's too bad. But hey, according to Twitter, she's changing the whole game. Then number 4 is a big stupid 6-man tag with Aleister Black's group versus the Bastard guy, and these 3 guys fought, and the lights went out, and Julia Hart has a poison. She looks like Two-Face, but like not any of the good ones, like the Tommy Lee Jones ones, and a bad guy hit a move and they won, I think. They pinned Pac. Who cares? At one point, the Brody King guy, the big indie tattooed dark tights guy, don't have enough of those. He does a big senton over the top, but he bangs his shoulders or neck and head on the ring apron, which is the hardest part of the ring. Match number 5, we're not even close. Samoa Joe wrestles Adam Cole in a disappointment match, because this was not what anyone wanted it to be. The referee was Mike Chioda, who was a nice touch referee, Mike Chioda. I think he was the referee during that Owen Hart match that didn't happen because of the accident. I think so. They can't really talk about it, but they kind of just let you do the math there and put the pieces together. Um, I don't know if Joe was hurt or something. Adam Cole is skinnier than ever. It looks bad. And of course, so he beats Samoa Joe cleanly. LOL. 1, 2, 3. And we go right to the other number 6, the other Owen Hart tournament match thing. Ruby Soho. Let me go back up. Britt Baker comes to the ring. The guitarist from Fozzy, like we're gonna recognize him. There's a car alarm outside. Son of a bitch. I wonder how long that'll go on. It's very hot in this apartment. Whenever you record things in the summer, regardless of where you live, usually it sucks because you have to have everything closed and yada 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 yada. It's gonna keep going on, isn't it? I don't know if you could hear that or not, but there's a car alarm. It couldn't be less comfortable. Britt Baker comes out and her song is aided by it's gone away by the guitar stylings of a Fozzy guitarist. LOL. And Ruby Soho, Rancid is just there. Just the band Rancid, and they play the song and she comes out. Great moment for her. The entire band of Rancid is there, and I know they're friends with Ruby, but at the same time I can't imagine they're cheap. It's a big deal, and it's one of the very seldom wrestling performances that you see people enjoying the music, the musical guest. Like it's a running gag between me and a few friends that Flo Rida has to be at every WrestleMania, even though it's been a few years. But still, it's like all those long WrestleMania performances, and even NXT would have a few, the Triple H days of NXT, and and almost no one ever really cares. The NXT fans would be nicer to the Poppy chick, but really no one, they don't care. You're not going to get them to agree on what music they like, and they're not there for a concert. And they're also standing in a formation with these chairs where they really can't move and dance or jump around, whatever the hell it is the kids do to really. They just kind of sit or they stand and they clap and they go, ooh, if they really liked it, and there's really not a lot they can do there, and it's in their concert formation. Plus, half the people have to turn their head completely sideways. It just never, I don't know, never really works. It's always been a time killer. But in this case, people are, because you saw the reactions on camera, you didn't see him to the Fozzy guitarist. No one knew who that guy was, but you saw people singing a Ruby Soho song. You know, they know it. Okay. Very good. It really shows a lot of stock in Ruby, that maybe this is a new we're going to give her a chance, and she loses clean to Britt Baker. And then it's Britt Baker, and it is Adam Cole in a charming and honest emotional segment with with Dr. Martha Hart, Owen's widow, and she didn't go long or whatever, and she was as comfortable as she can be. She's not a wrestling fan. She has no idea what's going on. I was worried because they were chanting a few times early, and I'm like, is she gonna get? She's not a lawyer. It's not like she's a public speaker, and most public speakers don't speak to 15,000 fucking screaming idiots all the time. We have conventions in Texas for that. Okay, Bob. So, Cole and Britt basically had to not be heels for a while, and that was fine. And they just kind of stood there with their hands folded over their privates for some. Well, because Cole's in a t-shirt and tights, and it's really silly. Anyway, she gives them t-shirts, she gives them belts, she gives them trophies, and people have to cheer for each one. And I was worried. I'm like, geez, is this, Sometimes when you're nervous, you can forget your time cue and just go on forever. And it seemed like they kind of played her off with the music, but she said thank you, and everyone was happy. So that was that. It was nice. It was nice. I didn't think it was too much. It didn't come off as phony or insincere to me. It came off as just genuine enough. I hope. And I don't think this will happen, because I think this Dr. Martha Hart is a very bright lady, and she does live all the way in Canada too. That I hope she doesn't become the Dana Warrior, meaning like Dana's always around, not always around. She hasn't been around much, but they made her part of the creative team, which I doubt you never hear about her. So they bring her up every year to give an award. But she's always kind of vapid, and she looks a little blank sometimes, poor Dana. thinking. I think she doesn't understand exactly what Warrior's real reputation in wrestling was. I think she knows what he told her because she met him, when he was done. I know he had one match in 2008 in Spain. I know. Come on. Whenever she met him in the late 90s, early 2000s, whatever the hell it was, he was done. So that was that. So and I don't know. I read trail. I didn't mean to trail off on Dana Warrior there, but I don't think Dr. Hart is going to become that. I think it's even if they even do this next year, you're not going to hear from her too much. I think she proved her point, and I'm sure helped her foundation, and that was the end of that. Let's move on. A mixed tag match happened. I don't give a fuck. It's number 7. Sammy Guevara, Ty Conti, and Frank Kazarian. So it's 2 guys and a lady versus 2 guys and a lady. And they wrestle Ted Danson, Steve Guttenberg, and Tom Selleck, I want to say. No, that can't be right. They wrestle... Who did they wrestle? Oh my god, I just watched this. The Lambert group of Ethan Page, Scorpio Sky, and Paige Van Zant. Yes, there's 2 Pages on the same team, and the main event is a guy named Page. This is true. So, Paige Van Zant, I guess, has never wrestled before, and she did not look as green as Jade Cargill. But she was in there for way too long, Paige. They had her doing way too much for a person who's never had a match on TV, so... She was the attraction because she's got like an MMA background, or I don't know if it's UFC or another group, I don't know. But she does one kind of judo throwish, whatever the hell, MMA like thingy, and then she does 2 clotheslines. Like, no, we want to see her do the MMA shit to Ty Conti, and then they do the gimmick where Ty and Sammy are making out too much. But Sammy was kissing Ty, but they were waiting to be interrupted by something, but it was taking too long. So Sammy's so... wrestling is so fake now, he's even pulling the kisses. Like, my god, dude. You're missing. And they're like dating in real life with their genitals and the nudity and the thrusting and the climax and everything, I guess. So there's a lot of back and forth between... Frank Kazarian gets pinned somehow. He's arguing with Sammy. He's mad because Sammy's distracted by the lady he already has sex with, which I don't understand. Sammy inadvertently super kicked Ty Conti, of course, but I think she got up and they were fine. She was fine, of course. Whatever. Let's move on. Pleasant surprise, because this match was added really late. Kyle O'Reilly and Darby Allin have a match for no particular reason. It was very good. It was not as long. Most of these matches were 20 minutes long. I should mention this. This one was not. It was one of the better matches. MJF Wardlow, it might have been, 10, 12 minutes, and that's like 8 minutes of Gaga. So even the finish, the long, slow 10 power bombs is alright. It's not match. It's an event with a pinfall. Okie dokie. Thunder Rosa and Serena Deeb also have a very good match. So Darby and Kyle duck us out of this. I didn't say much about Darby and Kyle. I didn't even tell you who won. Kyle beat him clean, to my surprise, because they're always so big on Darby. But they had Darby do his style versus Kyle doing his style, and Kyle just beat him. And people seem behind Kyle, so even though he's the heel. But hey, I'll forgive it because we needed something that wasn't painful to watch. Britt Baker and Ruby going backwards a little bit. Seemed to me they were not involving the crowd whatsoever. They had not their heads down, but they're just not looking at the people. And the people, I think, subconsciously they tune out. Like you're not talking to them. Like a teacher who's reading from the textbook. Like kids aren't listening, It's kind of that same effect. Number 10. The 10th match has 10 men in it. One of which is good, and they pinned him, or beat him, or whatever the hell. Oh. I took very few notes. I took one note. I stopped taking notes at this point, and just wrote down what the match was. The ring announcer, Justin Roberts, says, "Ladies and gentlemen," and then he stops, and I have to admit, as unprofessional and stupid as this was, I laughed. Because what was he supposed to say, especially in hindsight? He stops and says, "Ladies and gentlemen, Uh, Shit's about to hit the fan, and he just gives up and doesn't. And he actually said that, and everybody laughed in that a moment. Oh, good Lord. What's the best way I can do this? 2 teams of 5. The Blackpool Combat Club and the Jericho Sports Entertainment Club. Jericho, a long entrance. Everyone sings a stupid song. The losers, the fat, disgusting, ugly losers, just sing a song of something records of my wife, my life. No, how about the cholesterol of your life, you fat, slovenly tubs of goo? You make me fucking sick just to look at you singing this Jericho song, you loser. So, and then Moxley's group, Moxley, Daniel Bryan, Eddie Kingston, Tito, Santana, and Ortiz. I keep saying Tito instead of Santana, which is funny. Tito Santana was a popular wrestler for you young folks. So they come out, and all from different parts of the arena, and the 2 teams of 5 all pair up, and they keep repeating Moxley's theme song on a loop, and because it faded once and they played it again, and that got one of the biggest pops because you can't follow anything. JR himself said, "I can't call this. This is brawling," and now it's brawling. It's a lawsuit city. 5 pairs of men are brawling all over people. Now they're bleeding all over each other and probably bleeding on people. COVID-19, diseases, hepatitis, AIDS, no one cares. What can I say? They're in every single part of the arena. At one point, Eddie Kingston and I think Jake Hager? No, I don't know. One of the bad guys. They're all wearing white pants. One of the bad guys is covered in blood, but he's also covered in mustard, so that makes mustard is a condiment is funny, so the blood is now negated, so that was pointless for him. Thanks for bleeding. Eddie Kingston and some other guy are in an elevator, and the doors close, and I was really hoping JR, or Shivani wouldn't, JR would say, well, you know, that elevator, that could be dangerous on so many levels, and no one made that joke. Or the fight was going up and down, or whatever the hell, or someone's pushing his buttons. Come on, elevator, get with it, guys. Anyway, let's just move along. There's some tables breaking. There's a Bryan and Moxley, no, Bryan and I don't know, Bryan and somebody, Santana, Ortiz, whatever. Bryan and somebody each jumped off a ladder onto a table, onto a guy at the same time. Somehow the top rope gets taken. Jon Moxley takes the top rope down, but then Eddie Kingston returns from the elevator and pours gasoline on Chris Jericho. I'm not kidding. Attempts to burn him alive, but Bryan Danielson stops him. And then Eddie Kingston and Bryan brawl, even though they're on the same team. Moxley separates them, but while separating, Moxley falls off the ring apron, which is the hardest part of the ring, into a piece of wood with circular rolls of barbed wire on it for no reason. And then the heels take the turnbuckle strut and the rope, and they beat the bejesus out of Daniel Bryan, and they hang him with the second rope. And Audrey Edwards calls for the bell, and the heels win the 10-man only one of us is any good and we beat that guy match. Very good. Match number 11. This makes me sick. I'll get more in depth for the main event, I promise. I'll actually say something. I have to go run through these. Andrade is backstage and he introduces a guy we don't know. Very good. Let's hire more people. A blonde lady is talking to Lambert's group, and Dante Martin or something challenges Scorpio Sky. Very good. The 11th match. Not counting the pre-show. The 11th match is 3 tag teams versus each other. Keith Lee and Isaiah Swerve or Scott Swerve? What the hell was his name? We're going to call him Swerve, because we got swerved thinking this would be a good match. The pain in my voice from the show. The Dinosaur Guy and Jungle Kid are the tag champs, managed by Christian Cage for whatever reason. Taz is on commentary because the other team of Ricky Starks and Powerhouse Hobbs are there, and they're in a match. And of course, the same group, the same clique, the Jungle Boy and Dino. Almost call him Dino Juice. This is not Dino Douche. This is not the Cornette podcast. Um, Ricky Starks fell off the ring apron, the hardest part of the ring, and basically landed on his head on the outside of the ring. He had neck surgery last year. There's no reason for this. Keith Lee powerbombing Jungle Boy onto Luchasaurus's back. As stupid and dangerous as that is too, was amusing. Keith Lee, people are giving him a hard time. He might have gotten fatter. He might have gotten slower, but at least he's going great. So give him a break there. Swerve was good. His personality. Yeah, I think he took the pin, of course. Why wouldn't? I think Hobbs and Starks was the way to go. People reacted very strongly to Starks striking the pose and all that. So that's it. No titles changed until this next match. The main event: CM Punk challenges Adam Page. This was another classic AEW scenario where the people are chanting for both guys. There's half cheers and half boos for everything each guy does, which has gotten old to me. I think the match needs a heel, and hopefully it gets one if they do a rematch. CM Punk, he's still doing amazing work, and as far as mentally, his workerness is so sharp. Everything he does makes so much sense. He physically, yikes. I mean, he dead sold like a lot. He was just down, and people are going to point out the botches. I hate that word. Yeah, twice he went to do Adam Page's buckshot lariat thing, and twice he kind of crumbled on his knees. Shortly before he did that, I was looking at him like, his legs looked thinner to me. Like there were workouts not. I hate the hacky cliche skipping leg day jokes, but he just looked a little thinner. But when they squared off and when they did their lockups and their shoving off and their face rub things and all, I loved those. And if you look at the two of their faces, just Page's head from the neck up and Punk from the neck up, Punk looks 19 times tougher than Adam Page, who's very pretty boyish. Punk's 43, and he was really taking a beating. So he gets power bombed tailbone first on the ring apron, his hardest part of the ring. And that was before the two slingshot buck land on your feet flipping. The two times he crumbled on his knees. And the first time was actually convenient because Page picked him up to attempt Punk's go to sleep anyway, which was probably what they were going to do, so it made sense. Okay, Punk stumbles and Page grabs him. The second one was a little uglier. He didn't crumble as much, but they didn't. Whatever was coming next didn't come as smoothly. So, okay, whatever. At one point, Punk just does 3 body slams to Page, and they start booing Punk and giving him the shit. And that's great. We knew with the arrival of Punk and Bryan that okay, now the super hardcores, the 2019 AEW fans who, and 2020 fans who worship the whole elite group. We knew there was going to be a mini divide, but I say the company's only 3 years old. It's not near old enough to have pockets of fans who are mad at other fans for not liking the thing as long as they've liked it. We're not ready for that shit yet. There's no new era, okay? This is the era. It's 3 years. It's not that much. You have to deal with it. So, Punk, Adam Page does Punk's move to go to sleep to Punk, of course, and Punk kicks out 2 7/8. And I got nervous. I gotta admit, I got nervous. I'm like, they're not gonna do that to Punk. I thought they were gonna have Punk lose, and let's stick with the plan because Tony Khan decided 3 years ago that these are going to be his first 4 champions, and the fact that he didn't change it when it was time when Punk and Bryan showed up, I was like, okay, you're just gonna, I don't know, Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus got to be next as far as I'm concerned. It's long overdue. Your pillars change, dude. Look at the tension and the back and forth craziness with MJF. Shit changes. Roll with it. But if you got your plan, you got your plan. Good for you. Britt Baker is another one. Okay, Britt's going to win no matter what. You brought in Rancid for Ruby to lose clean. Okay. Why? And I like Ruby. I'm not a huge Ruby Soho fan. I'm trailing off. CM Punk and Adam Page. Page looked like he was stiffing the shit out of Punk, and it's good that he looks like he's stiffing the shit out of him. It's supposed to look like that, but I don't know, man. Punk looked pretty rocked. After the second time, he messed up the flip in for the buckshot lariat thingy. I think he literally told the referee, "I did it before," and he did. He did it on TV before, and people were like, "It's not as good." Well, it's not supposed to be as good. It's not the move he does, and it's not something he does regularly. So if he could just pull it off barely good, then who cares? But anyway, there is a big. They do the thing where they protected Page's finish. He still does beat Page. We know that if you're watching this. But the Page does this sling buckshot thingy, blah 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 blah. But that's after Punk tries to go to sleep. The feet of what's his face Page hit the referee, and this is so much better the way. And this is totally a CM Punk thing. Punk knows that in WWE, it's preposterous when someone brushes against the referee shoulder to shoulder and the referee's unconscious for 5 minutes. He knows that. No, a grown man took some feet in the head, and he got knocked down. He didn't see it coming, and he's selling, but he's not unconscious. He got knocked loop. He didn't see it coming. We just need a minute, not even. We need 30 seconds. We don't need 5 minutes. So the feet hit the referee. That friction, that motion causes Page to slip out of the move. Page somehow, I forget how, but he hits the buckshot, yada yada yada. And of course, there's no referee. Page sees the belt that is lying on a ring apron, as hard as part of the ring. Because the referee took it away from him before when he was posing with it, taunting Punk on the outside. So because Punk was selling from underneath for most of this. Like Page was just the younger, stronger guy, but Punk was trying to mentally have his number the whole time, which makes the most sense. And Page picks up that belt and is about to hit Punk with it. Looks at the belt, looks at Punk, looks at people, blah, blah, blah. Throws it aside, decides to do the right thing, and of course gets caught in it and go to sleep. Punk's finish. Referee has woken up by this point. 1, 2, 3, new champion. This is what's funny. Punk has been accused, and FDR has been accused, of having the, quote, Bret Hart masturbatory matches. Bret Hart. And I know there was a lot of Owen Hart tributes in this show and everything else, but I think Owen had nothing to do with this. And I think Bret and one of the Dax of the FTR did a lot of Bret Hart spots, and I think the two FTR guys wrestled each other and did too many Bret Hart spots. Like, I love it, because I love Bret Hart too, but it did get a little excessive. Like, it does expose things like why would your fight break out in the same way that another fight broke out 20 years ago? It's kind of like, okay, we're a little borderline, guys. We're pushing it, and I think they pushed it a little far. Again, someone should be in charge, but it is what it is. I mean, it's not the first thing I would change. There are way worse people to imitate. I think Bret Hart's a pretty good place to start, but the move for move spots, we have to kind of maybe kibosh that a little bit. Maybe they got it out of their system. I hope so. You can honor Bret by having great, sensible matches and reasonable, smaller nods, not bigger, longer, move by move matches. You gotta curb it a bit. But with that said, that finish was Bret and Piper from WrestleMania 8. And what a glorious FU to everybody. Punk masturbatory matches, especially with Page, Adam Page, trying to cut it, imitating an impassioned wrestling promo those last couple of weeks. All you do is your Bret Hart jack-off matches, blah, 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 blah. And when he loses the title, does he even know that finish was Brett and Piper at Mania 8? Was he born? Probably. He was probably born, but he couldn't have been that old. That's hilarious. I have no idea if that's been... Someone must have exposed that on Twitter by now. It can't be... It's not that secretive. That's like the one main Brett... It was more of a Piper spot than about Piper, but still. That's how Piper lost to Brett. And I think that's fucking hilarious. Okay. This pay-per-view... So 15 minutes before it started was when that pre-show match started with Danhausen and Hook. And that went my time on a West Coast 4:45. Pay-per-view ended at 9:45. 5 hours. And everybody's got to go about 20 minutes. Not everybody went. Somebody, but nobody went like under 12. Okay. It's too much is not even the right amount of words. And the worst things on this show all had 1 million people in them. Whether it's 5-on-5, 3-on-3, or 3 tag teams, that was the worst stuff. I appreciate the impromptu out of nowhere Kyle and Darby because it really was a turning point for a bunch of crap that happened right before it, and it helped the show. But too much is too much. We could have done with... We didn't need the TBS title. We didn't need Jade Cargill and Anna Jay. It's like that match... If that match existed, just to have those 2 debuts, which again is also preposterous. Because we're not... In 1 month, let's see if we're talking about Athena, Legion of Gimmicks, Ember Moon. 1 month, I'm being generous. Because we know how the story goes, what he likes to do. And the manager might have a longer... The Malcolm Pivens, now he's a Stokely Hathaway guy. Because he's a manager, he might have a little... He might go a little longer, but... I don't know. It's getting crowded. It's been crowded a long time. Too many matches does not even do it justice. If they were rushed... I don't know why the 6-man tag... Not the 6-man tag. That shouldn't have even been on the show. The 6-man tag could have not been on the show. TBS title could have not been on the show. I guess the 2 Owen Hart matches you have to have. A women's championship you have to have. Oh, did I skip Thunder Rosa and Serena Deeb? Holy balls, I did. Oh my god. That was the 9th match between Darby, Kyle, and Anarchy Arena thing. Thunder and Serena Deeb had a very good match. Thunder Rosa defeated her clean. There was some great wrestling. It was believable. And it's just going to get buried in a pile of non-eventful injuries. So, when it's good, there's not a lot to say about it. It was good. I was curious. So I would not mind another match. We need a reason for one. I think Thunder just pinned her clean with like a Michinoku driver type of thing. No, I'm using a Japanese. But that's one that everyone actually calls it that. Not okay. Let's move on. There's nothing to move on to. We're done. That was Punk and Page. So CM Punk is your new champion of AEW. This was the right thing to do. I'm imagining Adam Page will regret being a nice guy because it cost him a championship, and he'll do something terrible and be heelish and be evil or whatever. And they're not going to boo him unless he says, something about you stupid people too, blah, 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 blah. So, there's that. I don't know the answers. CM Punk with the championship is the right move. He's the biggest star. He is super over. He was trying to do a few things that maybe he can't be doing, but the thing is, he's always smart enough to figure that stuff out. Like, I guarantee you he's not going to be trying it in a week or two again. You're not going to see him try it again. Now he knows. He's like, okay, it didn't happen. After the second one, he stood and put his arms out and just posed, and he's like, okay, now boo me. Cheer me or boo me. I'm just going to acknowledge it now. Now what are you going to do? He let them have it. Instead of just trying to pretend it didn't happen and then they could chant you fucked up or whatever. He's like, no, I'm just going to sit here and we're just going to own this moment Fuck you. Because he's smarter than him. Daniel Bryan, what are you doing? Why are you playing with these kids? Should have said no. No William Regal on this at all. Okay. No FTR, although there was a picture of FTR coming out after they went off the air and Holder putting Punk on their shoulders, which is kind of funny. Anybody else? No. Danhausen, the hook tag could have been on this, honestly. It wasn't long. Of course, it was on the show, it'd be extra 10 minutes long. But yeah, the 6-man with the House of Black could have gone. TBS with Jade Cargill could have gone. The arena thing, okay, Moxley, Jericho, Bryan are people. Those are stars. You want to put them on the show, but goddamn, they could have done that, and half the time that they did, and then also not done it, would have been nice. I don't think Samoa Joe and Adam Cole was that long, but I just didn't see that. I think that was a big letdown. I think a lot of people were super psyched for it. And it was pretty uneventful. Okay. That's what happened. You tell I'm very tired, and there's no jokes in this one. It's not funny. Nothing funny is going on. I'll give you a Raw on I have a show Tuesday. On Wednesday, you'll get a Monday Night Raw. In the meantime, if you've had neck surgery, if you've had knee surgery, if you've had a staph infection, if you had any kind of surgery, if you had two UFC matches where you lost, if you had a bunch of pro wrestling matches and your body hurts, try not to take bumps in the ring apron, because the ring apron is the hardest part of the ring. The hardest part of the ring. Sometimes you get trapped in a headlock and you're worried about smearing your lip gloss. You shoot her off and take a shoulder block. Do the leapfrog, give her the hip toss on the hardest part of the ring. Hey, the hardest part of the ring. You got the guy in an abdominal stretch and you grab the rope for extra leverage. Then you get a concussion from the angry rush and you get paid with a diet soft beverage on the hardest part of the ring. Hey, the hardest part of the ring. Now double claps. Clap, 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 clap. The hardest part of the ring. The hardest part of the ring. Ba-da-ba-da.